So this is a much older version of the robot I'm working on. Sort of a torso, neck, head kind of arrangement. So here's the most recent version. I redesigned the whole thing for these different motors using 12-volt servos now. So I got a 12-volt supply here. There are two 5-volt servos in here, but most of them are all 12 volts. Boost buck converter thing going on there. Movements are pretty accurate, they're pretty predictable. There's not a lot of jiggling around. It's pretty precise. It's good. So adding to this, I want to add a bit more, another module down there basically. A sort of a waist module. This is for the upper torso. Add a bit of a lower torso there, another 3 motors basically. So the first thing I'm going to do is work around some of the component constraints. So I'm going to be using these motors here, and I'm going to need to find a bearing for the rotation. So I'm going to search around for some bearing I can use, and once I've figured out the bearing I want, know the size of the motor I'm wanting, I can work on making the module to fit around the components. So I'm going to search around for this and I'll get back to you. Alright, so I found an absolutely fantastic bearing here on AliExpress. This should be absolutely perfect. Got great measurements here. So while I wait for this to arrive in the mail, I'll jump over here and I'll do a bit of a rough model of it so I can work with it. So be back in a minute. Alright, with that done now, let's pull in one of these servos and start moving these parts around. So let's go over here. It's basically this mechanism here, which I have not attached yet. So there's basically a plate here that slots in here, and then the rest of the body can screw into this. This plate can rotate, and it has 2 of these servos down here to get a bit of a different 2-axis rotation, but not very much. Maybe 5 or 10 degrees in either direction, which is all that it really needs. Combination thrust bearing and roller bearing on the inside, which is really useful. I'm glad I found this. Previously, I used something like this in her neck here, but I just sort of designed it myself. Like I've got a thrust bearing here, and then 2 roller bearings in here, so basically doing the same thing as this. You just buy one of these, so might as well do that. Alright, so this is that waist component. Sits like this. Idea is it's going to move around like that. Initially, I was going to put the plate here with this bevel gear on the inside. The servo would fit in here, line up with that bevel gear, 2-to-1 ratio probably, to facilitate rotating this a bit. but I found that I was just not able to get the kind of fit that I wanted, and there was just so much play. It was so sloppy, right? Like, just was not working. So I've switched it around, and presently I'm going with a design that's got the bevel gearing much further out like this. So now this is an earlier print, so the shaft of the motor was going down there initially, so I had to rotate the motor 180 degrees, so the shaft is coming out here now to engage with this. So that solves all the problems with the looseness of this plate, so now it'll be very precise when it rotates. Should be a bit more torque too. So originally I was using an eye mechanism like this, which works very well. Got the servos on the inside of the eyeball. They fit very nicely. So that's what you see here. And it doesn't really make a lot of space to put a camera on the inside. So that has some design problems here. So I came up with a bit of a different design. This is the first version. Took a few refinements. This is the second version. And still some problems with this one. Notably, the linkages are kind of loose, so I had to fiddle around with some of the tolerances. The basic idea here was I was going to try to have a big empty cavity on the inside of the eyeball there, the hole, and to handle the x-axis rotation with this linkage. And the y-axis rotation is already handled with a motor way at the back of the head anyway, so there was no need to deal with that. So this way I should be able to do something like this, but I should be able to get some cameras in there. I'll be using one of these cameras here, one of these boards. Now on its own, this might actually fit in there. I can probably make it fit in there. Maybe more sensibly, I'll try to attach the board here. And what you can do is you can see here there's this ribbon connection on this camera. You can actually buy cameras that have longer ribbons, more like maybe 3 centimeters long. So I can attach the board a little bit further away from the inside of the eyeball. And then I just need to fit this little camera to line up with the hole there, and that should be no problem at all. I can design a bit of a fixture in there for that. This could be handy. Okay, so I put together some code to work with a vision model so we can send some of that video information for processing, so we can figure out what the robot's actually looking at. So I'll be using LM Studio here. This is for working with local language models. But we can use here's one here. This one actually supports image input as well, so we'll use that. I'll show you what I mean here. You can jump over to a chat. Let's load this one in here. All right. Okay, so I got an image loaded in here. Let's add a bit of a prompt here. What can you see in the image? In this image, a wax head is displayed next to several bottles. Bald, eerie. So it's a pretty good description there. So jumping over to the server side here, we'll load this model in. Oh wait, I've already got it in, sorry. So we've got this model loaded in here. So rather than interacting with it through the chat, now we can interact with it through some code over here. At least for now, all I've done is create this little prompt here. So whenever I press this button, the webcam will take a picture and do an analysis of the scene and then tell me what it sees. So we'll try that out in a moment. And the idea being I can just feed video frames into this every 20 seconds or so, and it should be no problem, because all the processing is going to be happening locally. Okay, let's try this out. So I got a camera over here. We'll try this out.
I see a man is wearing glasses and has a beard, which gives him a distinct appearance. He is sitting in front of a bookshelf filled with various books, indicating that he might have an interest in reading or studying. The image looks like slightly blurry, but the man's facial features are still clearly visible.
I think that checks out. So let's try that out with a few other situations here. Okay, just for testing right now, I'm going to fire this off over here. And I'm just going to put some picture on the screen. Get the camera set up over here. So we'll just see what the camera makes of what it's looking at.
I see a futuristic scene with an electronic control panel and various computer screens, including one that has a keyboard on it. The control panel is situated in the middle of the room, surrounded by multiple monitors. I see also two people present in the scene, possibly working or observing the controls. The overall atmosphere suggests a high-tech environment where advanced technology is being used for various purposes.
Oh, that worked out pretty well. All right, let's find another image here. All right, here we go. Just gonna blow this up a bit. Let's see what we can see here.
This is a painting of people standing in front of a staircase with some of them looking up at the ceiling. The painting looks like quite detailed and realistic, depicting various individuals engaged in conversation or observing something above them. The scene takes place on a stage, which adds an element of drama to the image. It is interesting to see how the artist has captured the expressions and postures of the people in this artwork.
All right, that's working pretty well. Let's try another image here. All right, here's one. It's not a landscape or anything. We get just a bunch of characters on here. Let's see what the vision model makes of this. Just a bunch of characters. Well, all the same character, really.
I see a computer screen with an animated cartoon of women wearing tight blue outfits and high heels. The women are posed in various positions, some running or dancing, while others are standing still. I see also a man in the scene who looks like watching the animated women. Overall, it's a visually engaging display that showcases the animated characters in action.
Well, I don't know where the man is, but okay. Mostly correct. Let's try another one. All right, let's try this one. All right, that should be enough in the frame there.
I see a woman in a blue swimsuit standing next to a man with a robot head who looks like an android or a cyborg. The scene takes place on a computer screen, which is likely part of a video game or digital artwork. I see a woman seems to be enjoying her time with the android, possibly engaging in conversation or sharing a drink together. The image captures a unique and interesting interaction between humans and technology.
That's working pretty well. So anyway, should be able to get this going with a video feed from the robot's eyeballs, and that should be pretty useful. Now I've got another, let me close this program down. Now I've got another thing going on where it will, it's not just producing this text description, but it's also producing JavaScript breakdown of the scene. Right, so the idea being, you break down the scene like this, you get the nice text description, which is great, but also it gets broken down into a JavaScript file here. So we got a woman sitting in a room, we don't know how big it is. There's several robots, they're surrounding them. Like, there's a whole bunch of detail here. There's a glass of wine, it's red, it's small. And we got a first and second person description. So this ends up, well, the first person ends up being what is vocalized. But all this information gets saved into some memory. So we can jump over to here, calling this experience quanta. So when I've got a few more of these modules for different senses worked out, I can run this and it will put it all together in a package. So down here, woman is sitting in her room, holding a glass of wine, surrounded by robots. But then we've also got some other details about the scene, previous thoughts, memories, goals, all that sort of stuff. And given that information, what do you do? Well, that takes us over to the next script, which is the ego query. So we run that. And it says, I'm going to take a closer look at the woman, take a step closer to the woman. So beyond that, that needs to be interpreted into how is the action taken, articulated into motor movements and that sort of thing. Well, this is where I'm at now anyways.